AMC and GameStop are going to be the main points of this entire video, but very briefly, I'll give you a brief rundown as to what's going on over the weekend, at least so far with the economy. Tomorrow is going to be the full market prep update, the economic data, what's going on. That will all be in tomorrow's video. But for now, I'll just give you a little piece of the pie before we jump into GameStop and AMC. U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick says there is no chance tariffs will be paused on China after talks this weekend. We are supposed to get some major trade deals with China this weekend. And then we came out and we see that the Chinese delegation attending trade talks with the U.S. was seen leaving the venue, according to Reuters. Then later on, they say, they were on lunch break, right? The fact that you're seeing these articles come out that quick, it just shows you everything is going to be confused. The markets are going to be confused. You're going to continue to see volatility. You're going to continue to see bullshit, false articles, and just be weary of all that. What I'm saying is ignore all the noise. India and Pakistan then had a ceasefire. They exchanged, and then they started exchanging fire, even though they had a ceasefire agreement. It lasted about 2 hours long, so you can't make it up. Okay, I want to talk about GameStop. That's just some stuff that's going on in the background, a little bit of chaos. GameStop, right? This Bitcoin purchase. We need to talk about it because Bitcoin's at $103,000. Did Ryan Cohen miss the perfect opportunity and perfect window to purchase GameStop? Well, maybe. Okay, I want to talk about that right now. Basically, I'll put it in very simple terms. That way this video is not very long. Getting a breakdown. When can GameStop, when can Ryan Cohen do this Bitcoin purchase? We have seen that they had $4.7 billion or so cash on hand, give or take these rough numbers. They then raised $1.5 billion through convertible notes, 0% interest. We all talked about that. So they should be sitting a little bit above $6 billion cash, or $6 billion cash, $6 billion assets, right? Their company's doing very well. The business model, you can question, right? The brick and mortars, but they are closing down unprofitable stores, whatever. That's for another video. Basically $6 billion, right? We will take that. Now, in order to comply with SEC rules, the standards, what has to happen right now is GameStop has to disclose their ownership of Bitcoin if hypothetically they purchase Bitcoin, because a lot of people are calling for that. And I'll explain what else other people are calling for, what other purchases that they're calling for. But if hypothetically Ryan Cohen, GameStop were to have purchased, let's say $5 billion, $6 billion worth of Bitcoin, they would have to announce it in an 8K filing within a 4-day period. Okay, so 4 days later, this would have to be announced. Now, we'll talk about that in a second, what that means. Secondly, when they would have to announce it on the upcoming earnings instead, which some people are calling for, this is an event that they would have to announce it on their upcoming earnings if they purchase 5% or less of their total assets. So assuming 6 billion or so, we can just assume roughly 300 million, 350 million max they might get away with without reporting anything until their next upcoming earnings report. Now, hypothetically, the 4-day purchase, we would be looking at Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That means that Ryan Cohen can come out Sunday, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt today that we don't get, a news event today. He can come out Sunday and say, hey, we bought Bitcoin. Here's the 8K filing. We bought $5 billion worth of Bitcoin, $6 billion worth of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's up about 7.5%, 8%. They would have likely bought between 96K and 98K, okay? Well, 96, 97. Basically, they would have purchased at $97,000. Now, what this would return, I'll put it into a little bit of a perspective here. If this is hypothetically the case and we do get an announcement on Sunday that they purchased Bitcoin, we would have already seen a return on GameStop of $480 million. $480 million. Now, hypothetically, the original filing that came out and said that they can purchase Bitcoin came out on March 25th, 2025. So right here, anytime in this point, they could have purchased $300 to $350 million worth of Bitcoin. What that would look like is we would still be up $28 million. I mean, this is damn near passive income for GameStop as a company. So $28 million. Okay, so those are the two scenarios that we're seeing. So lottery stocks break that down very simply. Sunday, we either see a purchase that Ryan Cohen, he missed the bottom, he missed the ball, but they bought in at 97K, and we see that announcement on Sunday, which is tomorrow. Okay, that's scenario one. Sure. Scenario two, and these are both bull scenarios. There are other scenarios that can happen. Scenario two is we don't see anything until they announce earnings between June 4th and June 12th, somewhere along that line. And they only purchased $350 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, I'm going to explain another theory that I thought was very interesting in a little bit, and you're going to want to pay attention. But a lot of people are calling out that, hey, they bought Ethereum. And it's because of Roaring Kitty's post right here. May 13th, 2024, you see the lightning around Thor here was clearly edited into the Ethereum logo, which is very valid tin. Now, assuming that they purchased Ethereum, and even before we do that, actually, even before we assume that they purchased Ethereum, this is Ethereum overlaid over GameStop. The charts are damn near identical. They move very, very in tandem, but a lot of stocks do, a lot of plays do, a lot of things are on algorithms, so I'll give you that, give the benefit there. Since the relative low for Ethereum in June 2022, we're up about 180% or so. What's interesting about that as well, GameStop, same thing from its relative low, which it actually hit in April of 2024, up 178%. So you can see how very similarly these charts are. Now, Ethereum is up about 80% in less than a month, in exactly about a month right now. They're up a little bit here. I had the numbers here somewhere. They're up about 80% in the past 4 days or so. So here's what I can assume. Here's what we can assume. Let's assume they have no announcement come out tomorrow. This is second scenario, right? Let's go to the first scenario. So they jump in Ethereum with $6 billion. What they would have right now is in a 4-day period, if they announce tomorrow that they jumped into Ethereum, $2.34 billion profit. Over $2 billion profit, almost $2.5 billion profit. If that comes out announced on Sunday, on tomorrow, huge. Okay, that will be insane. Let's say they don't announce it and we don't get something until the earnings, and they didn't buy Bitcoin, they bought Ethereum. Coming up into that earnings, they'd still, as of right now, would be up $280 million. Now, this is also, I want to forewarn you, the start of a bull run. Okay, on Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as altcoins. So it doesn't really matter what they bought into, but it will be interesting the timeline when they can announce it and when they have to announce it, because we are going to see magnified gains no matter what. So GameStop's in a very unique position. Now, Greg also posted something about Litecoin yesterday that people are talking about, which you can forget that guy, or you can, stick some merit to him. Whatever you want to do, this is just a hypothetical. The only reason that I'm bringing it up is because Litecoin actually tweeted directly to GameStop before, and I've talked about that in a post. It was, I believe, during the crypto winter, the last crypto winter, Litecoin had talks with GameStop. So I'm just putting it out there. It's up a very similar percentage. Put very simply, we would be seeing about a $238 million gain or a $1.2 billion gain, okay, depending on the announcement that comes out tomorrow or the latest earnings and how much GameStop actually invested into each of these coins. Now, just put very simply, lottery stocks, can they buy a little bit of Bitcoin, 300 million worth, then 300 million worth of Ethereum, then 300 million worth of Litecoin, and not report it till their earnings? No, they can't do that. It's 5% or more of their total assets deemed material. They'd have to report it. Okay, so we'll just leave that right there. GameStop's chart looks extremely bullish coming into the week. We are seeing gamma ramp build, and then we're also seeing this happen on Ethereum. So if it has any correlation, we will see that as well. And then also on top of that, let me move on here. On top of that, I do want to state that yes, tomorrow's actually May 12th is the anniversary of Roaring Kitty coming back and posting this leaning forward, paying attention. Are we going to see something on that date, May 12th? Possibly. Now, we saw Michael Saylor add GameStop into their presentation right here. What's an interesting theory alongside the Bitcoin purchase, the Ethereum purchase, is this. And shout out to nickels and dimes over on X. A purchase that side would be considered a material event, yada, 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 which we talked about would have to be reported in 4 days. Now, you should consider the possibility that Ryan got leveraged Bitcoin exposure by buying MicroStrategy convertible notes, which would be a private transaction and wouldn't require immediate disclosure. This is interesting, Tin. Again, there are other theories that are more far-fetched. This is actually an interesting idea. And the reason it's an interesting idea, an interesting theory, and it's not too far-fetched in my opinion, is because MicroStrategy came out and they said we have a board meeting with GameStop. So these two companies on June 12th have a meeting. What is that meeting going to be about? Well, this could possibly be part of it. Now, I also want to put into perspective a company running 1,600% in a single trading day after disclosing owning 5,000 Bitcoin at 450 million in value. What do you think happened with GameStop if it announces $1.5 billion purchase in Bitcoin or more, right? Because they have more cash on this. Again, it's just something I want to throw out there. We are going to see Bitcoin proxy, which is a thing, but ultimately retail investors, the frenzy that's going to happen will likely be greater than 2021. I want to put that out there right now. Now, Ethereum Classic, do you guys remember when we brought up Ethereum Classic? We talked about it. We talked about its correlation to AMC. We used to bring it up a lot because they trade almost identical, but sometimes Ethereum Classic front runs the moves we see on AMC, so on and so on and so on. If you're new here, that is what happens. Their cycles play out the same. AMC's overlaid over Ethereum Classic right now, and this is exactly what their charts look like. They play out very similar 24/7. Now, Ethereum Classic has been getting this pop right here. It's a beautiful move higher, coming into resistance, coming up back to about 20 bucks. Will the same thing happen with AMC? Well, I originally had drawn out the price moves Ethereum Classic has seen on these rallies higher, and then I correlated them to AMC. And ultimately, you come to the conclusion, I could break this down and take long. They ran 314%. AMC ran 945%. Then it ran 752. Ethereum Classic ran 596. And then we saw some diminishing returns, bringing them more even. And then AMC chopped sideways a little bit more recently than Ethereum Classic has been. But ultimately, breaking it down, we're coming up to a point of interest. And from AMC's low back here, AMC's actually down 72%. From Ethereum Classic's low, it's actually up 324%. What's so interesting about this, right? And this is the same timeline, same time zone where they hit their lows, so don't worry about that. I'm talking right before the 2021 move. Right before the 2021 move. Let me grab my brush right here. Right? The relative lows here. It's down 72%. Ethereum Classic's up 324%. If we see anything similar to that, what's so interesting about this is you take this key level that it's down 72% from, you bring it up 324%, just like Ethereum Classic. What do you actually get out of the charts? You get a nice gap fill right around this area, right around this area where you see this gap fill right here on AMC. That's what you get to, which I find is just insanely interesting. Am I calling out for that? Well, not necessarily, but maybe, right? I see AMC already coming up to 25, 30 and beyond, and possibly as high as 88, possibly as high as, depending on if we break the system, I've given price targets, we break all-time highs. Okay, I'm not calling out for a peak here, a max peak, but you can see I had 88 drawn out as a possible scenario, and that would be bringing it halfway there, coming up to about $44. Okay, so I just want to point that out there. What's interesting, what I see in the charts, we would be getting this gap fill right here. That would also be rejecting off of some key levels, some key descending resistance lines. And I wanted to put that on your radar. As far as AMC goes, is it going to follow Ethereum Classic's short-term move that we're seeing right here? Well, maybe. If so, watch Monday for AMC to come up to $3.38, between $3 and $3.38 Monday, Tuesday. That's ultimately what I'm expecting. That's what I'll call out for. I'm ultimately expecting green for AMC and GameStop, even though we are seeing some 50-50 news on the markets, we'll say, some uncertainty coming out. But that is what I got for you guys for today's video. Tomorrow we will talk about the economic data coming out this week, earnings, stocks to watch, and then if I have anything else with GameStop and AMC that's happening, we'll talk about that. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. It's all these videos I do is completely free. You guys can watch them for free. I just ask you to like the video, drop a comment, engage the algorithm. And if you want to join my Discord server, it is plenty of benefit to you, and it is well worth the value, way worth the value that you get out of it. Come talk with me. Come talk stocks and crypto all day long. See my trades, tons of other benefits. If you want 60 free stocks, which is insane, do it now while the weekend's here. It'll take you 2 minutes. Download Moomoo, open an account, and deposit into there. And then obviously I have other links in the description, so don't sleep on those, guys. That is it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I love you all. God bless. Lottery Socks out.